The ship moved slowly through the darkness of space. It was small compared to the massive stations that floated around it. The vessel carried no weapons. It had no shields. It was painted white, the color of peace among the stars. Inside the ship, a woman stood near the window. Her name was Han. She was 34 years old. She had black hair that she kept tied behind her head. Her eyes were calm, but her heart was beating fast. She was about to do something no human had ever done before. She was going to speak to the Galaxy Council. For 200 years, humanity had spread across the stars. They found empty planets and made them their homes. They built cities and farms. They raised children under alien suns. But they had never met another intelligent species. They had always been alone. Then 5 years ago, everything changed. A strange signal came from deep space. It was not natural. Someone had sent it. Scientists worked for months to understand the message. When they finally did, they could not believe what they found. The galaxy was full of life. Hundreds of species lived among the stars. They had governments and laws. They had a council that ruled over all of them, and they had been watching humanity for a very long time. The message was simple. It said that humans were to send one representative to the council. They would discuss whether humanity could join the galactic community. It was an invitation, but it felt more like a command. Earth's leaders argued for months about what to do. Some wanted to ignore the message. Others wanted to send warships. But in the end, they chose a different path. They would send someone who believed in peace. They would send. She had spent her whole life working for understanding between people. She had stopped wars on Earth. She had brought enemies together and made them friends. If anyone could make the aliens see that humans were good, it was her. The ship slowed down as it approached the council station, looked at it through the window. It was the largest thing she had ever seen. It was bigger than a planet. Lights covered its surface like stars. Ships flew around it in endless streams, coming and going from 1,000 different worlds. "We are being scanned," said the pilot. His name was Park. He was a young man with a serious face. He had volunteered to fly to the council. He knew he might never return home. "Let them scan," said. "We have nothing to hide." The scan took only a few seconds. Then a voice came through the speakers. It was cold and mechanical. "Human vessel, you will proceed to docking port 712. Do not change course. Do not attempt communication with other ships. Any violation will result in immediate destruction." Looked at, his hands were tight on the controls. "They do not sound friendly." "They are being careful," said. "We would do the same if strangers came to our home." The ship moved toward the docking port. As they got closer, could see other vessels nearby. They were strange and beautiful. Some looked like living creatures. Others were made of crystal that caught the light. Each one came from a different world, a different species. The docking was smooth. The ship connected to the station with a soft click. For a moment, everything was quiet. Then the door opened. Aliens stood on the other side. Had seen pictures, but pictures were not the same as reality. These creatures were tall and thin. Their skin was gray. They had 4 arms and eyes that were completely black. They wore uniforms that marked them as guards. "Human," one of them said. Its voice was like rocks grinding together. "You will come with us." Turn 2, stay with the ship. No matter what happens, stay here. "Ambassador," said. He wanted to say more, but the words would not come. Smiled at him. It was a kind smile, the smile of someone who was not afraid. "I will be fine, trust me." She stepped off the ship and into the station. The guards surrounded her. They did not touch her, but they made sure she could not run. Not that she wanted to run. She had come here to talk, and that was what she would do. They walked through long hallways. The walls were made of some material did not recognize. It was smooth and cold. Other aliens passed them as they walked. Most of them stopped to stare at. Some made sounds that might have been discussed. Others simply looked away. Kept her head high. She had faced hatred before. She had faced people who wanted to hurt her, who thought she was less than nothing. She had never let them break her spirit. She would not start now. The guards brought her to a massive door. It was made of metal that shone like gold. Strange symbols were carved into its surface. The door opened without a sound. Beyond it was the council chamber. It was a room so large they could not see the walls. Seats rose up on all sides, hundreds of them, thousands of them. Each seat held a different creature. They came in every shape and size. Some had fur. Some had scales. Some had no bodies at all, just floating clouds of light. At the center of the room was a raised platform. This was where was supposed to stand. Above the platform, in the highest seats, sat the council leaders. There were 7 of them. They were older than the others, their bodies marked by time. They looked down with eyes that held no warmth. "Approach," said the one in the middle. It was a creature covered in blue feathers. Its voice echoed through the chamber. Walk to the platform. Every eye in the room was on her. She could feel their judgment like a weight on her shoulders, but she did not let it show. She stood straight and faced the council. "I am Han," she said. Her voice was clear and strong. "I come from the planet Earth. I represent all of humanity. We thank you for this invitation." The council leader made a sound. It might have been a laugh. "Invitation, yes, that is what you call it." Another council member spoke. This one was covered in hard shell like an insect. "We have watched your species for many years, human. You spread like a disease. You take what is not yours. You fight among yourselves like animals." Did not show any anger. "We have made mistakes. All young species do, but we have also grown. We have learned. We come here now in peace, hopping to learn more from those wiser than us." "Peace," said a third council member. It was a creature made of living stone. "Your species does not understand peace. Your history is written in blood." "Our history is complicated," agreed. "But it is also filled with love, with sacrifice, with people who gave everything to protect others. We are not perfect, but we are trying to be better." The feathered leader leaned forward. "And what do you offer us, human? Why should we allow your species to join the galactic community?" Had prepared for this question. She reached into her bag and pulled out a small device. The guards moved toward her, but she held up her hand. "This is not a weapon," she said. "It is a gift." She pressed a button. Light came from the device and filled the air above her. Images appeared. They showed Earth in all its beauty. Blue oceans and green forests. Cities that shone at night. Children playing in fields of flowers. "This is our world," said. "It is small compared to your empire, but it is our home. We love it just as you love your homes." The images changed. They showed humans helping each other, doctors treating the sick, teachers showing children how to read, friends sharing meals together. "We are not just warriors," continued. "We are artists and scientists. We are dreamers who look up at the stars and wonder what is out there. We have so much to offer if you will only give us a chance." The chamber was quiet. Could not tell what the aliens were thinking. Their faces were too strange, too different from her own. Finally, the feathered leader spoke. "We will consider your words, human. You will be taken to a waiting area. The council will discuss your request." Bowed her head. "Thank you, that is all I ask." The guards led her away from the platform. As she walked, she allowed herself a small moment of hope. Maybe this would work. Maybe humanity would find its place among the stars. She did not see the looks that passed between the council members. She did not hear the words they spoke after she left. "The humans are more dangerous than we thought," the feathered leader said. "Agreed," said the stone creature. "They are young, but they grow fast, too fast. In 1,000 years they could challenge our power." "Then we must stop them now," said the insect, "before it is too late." The feathered leader nodded slowly. "Yes, the humans spoke of peace, but we know the truth. Her species is a threat, and threats must be removed." The council voted. It was quick and unanimous. The decision was made before even reached her waiting room. Humanity would not be joining the galactic community, and the human ambassador would not be going home. In her small room, sat alone, she looked out a window at the stars. Somewhere out there was Earth. Somewhere out there were the people she loved. She hoped she had made them proud. She did not know that her death had already been decided. She did not know that the council saw her kindness as weakness, her hope as foolishness. She only knew that she had done her best, and sometimes that was all anyone could do. The stars continued to shine, cold and distant. They had seen the rise and fall of 1,000,000 species. Soon they might see the end of another. But the stars did not know what the council had forgotten. They did not know the truth about humanity. Humans were kind, humans were peaceful, humans wanted to be friends. But humans also remembered, and humans did not forgive those who hurt them. The council had made a terrible mistake. They just did not know it yet. 3 days passed in the small waiting room, spent her time looking at the stars and thinking about home. She missed the smell of rain on warm earth. She missed the sound of birds singing in the morning. She missed her mother's cooking and her father's laugh. But she did not regret coming here. Someone had to take the first step. Someone had to try to build a bridge between humanity and the galaxy. Even if she failed, at least she had tried. On the 4th day, the guards came for her. They did not speak. They simply opened her door and waited, stood up and followed them. She noticed that there were more guards this time, 6 instead of 2. Their weapons were visible on their belts. Something was wrong. They took her through different hallways than before. These ones were darker. The walls were made of black stone. Other aliens watched from the shadows as she passed. Their eyes were hungry, like animals waiting for food. Kept walking, she would not show fear. Fear was what they wanted from her. The hallway ended at another door. This one was not gold. It was made of dark metal and old. The guards pushed it open and led inside. The room beyond was not the council chamber. It was smaller but still large enough to hold hundreds of aliens. They sat in rows, looking down at a single spot in the center of the room. That spot held a chair made of stone. Above the chair was a screen. It was dark now, but knew it would soon show something terrible. The feathered council leader stood on a platform above the crowd. Its blue feathers were clean and bright. Its eyes were cold as ice. "Bring the human forward," it commanded. The guards pushed toward the stone chair. She stumbled but did not fall. She looked up at the council leader with steady eyes. "What is happening?" she asked. "I was told the council would consider my request. I was told there would be a discussion." The council leader made that strange laughing sound again. "Discussion? Yes, we discussed your request, human. We discussed what to do with your species." The crowd made sounds of agreement. Some of them hissed, others clicked their teeth. The noise filled the room like a dark wave. "The council has reached a decision," the leader continued. "Your species is guilty of crimes against the galactic community. You have expanded without permission. You have taken resources that belong to others. You have proven yourselves to be a danger to all civilized beings." Felt cold inside. We did not know there were others out here. We did not know there were rules. How can you punish us for breaking laws we did not know existed? "Ignorance is not an excuse," said another voice. It was the stone creature standing beside the feathered leader. "A disease does not know it is killing its host, but we still cure the disease." "We are not a disease," said. Her voice was getting louder now. "We are people. We have lives and families and dreams. We deserve a chance to prove ourselves." "You had your chance," the feathered leader said. "You stood before the council and showed us pictures of your world. You spoke of peace and friendship, but we saw the truth behind your words." The screen above the chair came to life. Images appeared on it, but these were not the beautiful images had shown. These were different. They showed human wars, bombs falling on cities, soldiers fighting in trenches, Nuclear explosions turning everything to fire. The images were old from Earth's past, but they were real. The crowd roared with anger. "This is what your species does," the council leader said. "This is your true nature. You destroy everything you touch. You cannot be trusted. You cannot be allowed to spread further." Watched the images with tears in her eyes. She knew these histories. She had studied them. They were the worst parts of humanity, the moments of greatest shame. But they were not the whole truth. "Those images are from our past," she said. "We learned from those mistakes. We are different now. Better, please, you have to believe me." "We do not have to do anything," the leader replied. "We are the council. We decide what is true and what is false, and we have decided that humanity must be stopped." The crowd cheered. The sound was deafening. The council leader raised one of its arms. The room fell silent. "The punishment for crimes against the galactic community is death. The human ambassador will be executed as a message to her species. Any human ship that approaches our space will be destroyed. Any human colony near our borders will be removed. This is the law. This is justice." Legs felt weak. She had known this was a possibility. She had known from the moment she volunteered that she might not come home, but hearing the words made it real in a way she had not expected. She was going to die. The guards grabbed her arms and forced her into the stone chair. Metal bands came from the chair and wrapped around her wrists and ankles. She could not move. "Do you have any final words, human?" the council leader asked. Its voice was mocking. Looked up at the alien. She thought about begging. She thought about screaming. But those things would not help. The council had already made its decision. Nothing she said would change their minds. So instead she smiled. The crowd fell silent. They did not understand. Why was the human smiling? Did she not know she was about to die? "I have a message," said. "Not for you, for my people." She closed her eyes. In her mind, she activated the small device hidden in her tooth. It was a communicator placed there before she left Earth. It could send one message across any distance. She had been saving it for an emergency. This was that emergency. The message was simple. It contained only one word and the video feed from her eyes. The council would not understand what the word meant, but Earth would. The word was remember. She opened her eyes. The council leader was staring at her with confusion. "What did you do, human?" Did not answer. She just kept smiling. The leader made a gesture. A guard stepped forward. It held a device that glowed with blue light, an execution tool. "Kill her," the leader commanded. The guard pressed the device against chest. Pain exploded through her body. It was worse than anything she had ever felt. Every nerve was on fire. Every part of her was screaming. But she did not scream. She kept her eyes open. She looked at the aliens who were killing her, and she did not look away. The pain lasted for 30 seconds, then it stopped. His body went limp. Her heart stopped beating. Her eyes, still open, stared at nothing. Han, ambassador of Earth, was dead. The crowd cheered again. They celebrated the death of the human. They thought they had won. They thought they had sent a message that humanity would understand. They were right about one thing. They had sent a message. But it was not the message they intended. Far away, in the darkness of space, the message reached Earth. It traveled faster than light, carried by technology the Council did not know humans possessed. It arrived at a military base hidden deep underground. General received the message. He was a big man with a face and gray hair. He had fought in 3 wars before retiring. When the Council's invitation came, he had argued against sending. He had wanted to send warships instead. The leaders had not listened. They had chosen peace. Now peace was dead. Watched the video in silence. He saw speak to the Council. He saw her show them the beauty of Earth. He saw them reject her with contempt. He saw them accuse humanity of crimes. He saw them kill her. He saw her smile at the end. When the video was finished, stood up. His hands were shaking, not with fear, with rage. He walked to a panel on the wall. It was red and covered with warnings. No one was supposed to touch it without permission from the world leaders, but did not care about permission anymore. He entered a code. The panel opened, revealing a button underneath. The button was labeled with 2 words, Annihilation Protocol. Press the button. All across Earth, alarms began to sound. Hidden bases opened their doors. Ships that had been sleeping for decades came to life. Weapons that humanity had built in secret, weapons they had hoped to never use, were activated. The galaxy thought humans were weak. They thought humans had no real military power. They were wrong. For 200 years, humanity had been preparing, not for war, but for the possibility of war. They had built fleets in hidden shipyards. They had developed weapons that could destroy planets. They had trained soldiers to fight in ways the galaxy had never seen. All of this was part of the Annihilation Protocol, a plan created for one purpose, to protect humanity if all else failed. Had believed in peace. She had given her life trying to build bridges, but she had also known the truth. Some bridges could not be built. Some enemies could not be reasoned with. That was why she had smiled at the end. She knew what her death would mean. She knew what would come next. The Council had killed one human. They had thought this would make humanity afraid. They did not understand what they had done. Back on the Council station, the celebrations continued. The aliens drank and laughed. They told each other stories about how scared the human had looked. They did not notice that their sensors were picking up strange readings from human space. The feathered council leader stood in its private chamber, looking at a map of the galaxy. The human colonies were marked with red dots. There were hundreds of them, spread across thousands of light years. Soon, the leader said to itself, soon those dots will be gone, and the galaxy will be safe. It did not know that at that moment, thousands of human ships were launching. It did not know that soldiers were putting on their armor and checking their weapons. It did not know that the people of Earth were watching the video of death, and that every one of them was filled with a terrible, burning anger. The Council had started a war, but they did not know it yet. In the cold depths of space, the human fleet moved in silence. They did not use lights. They did not send signals. They were shadows, invisible and deadly. At the front of the fleet was General's ship. It was called named for the woman who had given everything for peace. Now it would bring something very different. Stood on the bridge, looking at the stars ahead. Somewhere out there was the Council station. Somewhere out there were the aliens who had killed his friend. He had known since they were children. They had grown up in the same town. They had dreamed together about what humanity might find among the stars. She had wanted friends. He had warned her that they might find enemies instead. He had been right, and now she was gone. "Sir," said one of his officers, "the fleet is in position. All ships report ready." Nodded slowly. "Good, maintain radio silence. We move on my command." The officer hesitated. "Sir, the government has not officially approved the protocol. There may be consequences." "The consequences have already happened," said. His voice was flat, empty of emotion. "They killed our ambassador. They killed someone who came to them with open hands and an open heart. There is nothing left to discuss." He turned to look at the officer. "Send a message to all ships. Tell them what I'm about to tell you." The officer waited. Took a deep breath. "We did not want this war. We came in peace and they answered with murder. They think we are weak. They think we are afraid. They think they can kill us and face no consequences." His hands clenched into fists. "They are wrong. The galaxy is about to learn what happens when you hurt humanity. They are about to learn why even we were afraid of ourselves." He looked back at the stars. Believed in peace. She died for that belief. We will honor her memory by showing the galaxy that her death was a mistake, the biggest mistake they have ever made. The fleet moved forward into the darkness. Behind them, Earth was changing. The planet that had sent an ambassador of peace was now becoming something else. Factories worked day and night. More ships were built. More weapons were made. More soldiers were trained. The Council had wanted to send a message to humanity. Humanity had received it. And now, humanity was going to send a message of their own. The galaxy waited for humanity to respond. After the execution of Ambassador, the Council expected anger. They expected threats. They expected humans to send messages of protest, to demand justice, to cry and beg for mercy. Instead, they got nothing. Earth went silent. Human ships disappeared from all known trade routes. Human colonies stopped sending signals. The entire species simply vanished as if they had never existed. At first, the Council was confused. "Where are they?" demanded the feathered leader. Its name was High Chancellor. It stood in its private chamber surrounded by advisors and generals. "Our sensors show nothing. No communications. No ship movements. Nothing." "Perhaps they are afraid," suggested one of the advisors. It was a small creature covered in green scales. "Perhaps they have realized they cannot fight us and are hiding." "Or perhaps they are planning something," said another voice. This one belonged to Fleet Admiral, a massive creature made of metal and flesh. It had fought in 100 wars and won them all. "Silence can be a weapon," made a dismissive sound. "The humans have no real military. We have studied them for centuries. Their ships are primitive. Their weapons are weak. They are no threat to us." "Then why did we kill their ambassador?" asked. The question hung in the air, did not answer it. Days passed, then weeks. The Council sent scouts to human space, but the scouts found nothing. The colonies were still there, but they were empty. Buildings stood with open doors. Food rotted on tables. Ships sat in ports, gathering dust. It was as if every human had simply walked away. "This is wrong," said. It stood before the Council, its mechanical body humming with power. Billions of humans lived in those colonies. They could not have all disappeared. Someone is hiding them. "Where?" demanded. "Our sensors cover every part of known space. If the humans were moving, we would see them." "Then perhaps they are not in known space," replied. The Council members looked at each other. The idea was ridiculous. Beyond known space was empty darkness, regions that had never been explored. No civilization could survive out there. There was nothing to eat, nothing to use, nothing but cold and emptiness. But the humans were gone, and they had to be somewhere. 1 month passed, then 2. The galaxy began to relax. The Council declared victory. They announced that humanity had been broken, that the execution of their ambassador had shown them the truth of their situation. Celebrations were held on 1,000 worlds. Stood before the galaxy and spoke. "The human threat is over," it said. Its voice was broadcast to every corner of civilized space. "They came to us with lies and false promises. They pretended to want peace while planning conquest, but we saw through their deception. We showed them the strength of the galactic community, and now they hide in shame, knowing they can never challenge us." The speech was met with cheering. Species that had feared humanity now mocked them. Jokes were made about the weak little humans who had dared to think they mattered. Children were told stories about the foolish ambassador who had smiled as she died. No one noticed the small changes happening at the edges of space. A patrol ship near the border sent a strange report. It said that space itself seemed wrong. The stars were in the right places, but the darkness between them felt different, deeper, like something was hiding in it. The report was ignored. The captain who sent it was told to stop drinking on duty. Another ship, a science vessel studying a distant nebula, reported unusual energy readings. The readings came from somewhere beyond the nebula, somewhere that should have been empty. When the scientists tried to investigate, their instruments stopped working. By the time they got them running again, the readings were gone. This report was also ignored. Then, exactly 3 months after the execution, everything changed. It started with the border stations. There were hundreds of them, positioned at the edges of Council space. Their job was to watch for threats and report any unusual activity. They had been silent for weeks, seeing nothing but empty space. Then all at once, they started screaming. Contact, contact. Massive signatures emerging from hyperspace. Ships appearing at Sector 7, thousands of them. They came from nowhere. The sensors didn't see them until they were already here. It's the humans are back. Received the reports in its private chamber. It read them with growing horror. This was impossible. Humans did not have ships like this. They did not have technology that could hide from Council sensors. They were primitive, weak, nothing. But the reports kept coming. Human ships appeared at every border at the same time. They emerged from directions that had been declared empty. They came from regions of space that had never been explored, from places where no civilization could survive. And they came in numbers that made no sense. 10,000 ships at the eastern border, reported an advisor. 8,000 at the northern frontier, said another. 12,000 emerging near the core worlds. 15,000 surrounding the Council station. His hands shook. That is impossible. The humans did not have that many ships. They could not have built that many ships, not in 3 months, not in 300 years. They must have had them hidden, said. The Admiral had entered the chamber without asking. Its mechanical face showed no expression, but its voice was different. There was something in it that had never heard before. It was respect. For how long? Demanded. How long have they been hiding this? I do not know, admitted. But I do know one thing: we made a mistake, a very serious mistake. On the screens around them, images appeared. They showed the human ships in detail. The vessels were unlike anything the Council had seen before. They were sleek and dark, built for speed and power. Their weapons glowed with energy that sensors could not identify. Their armor was made of materials that did not exist in Council databases. These were not the primitive ships of a young species. These were weapons of war, designed by people who had been planning for this moment for a very long time. At the center of the human fleet near the Council station was one ship larger than all the others. It was massive, nearly the size of a small moon. Its surface was covered with weapons. Its name was written on its side in human letters that the Council translators struggled to read. The name was simple. It was called. Inside that ship, General stood on the bridge. Around him, officers worked at their stations. Screens showed the Council station ahead, surrounded by panicking defenders. The station's shields were up, but they looked weak compared to the human weapons. Sir, said an officer, the Council is attempting to contact us. They are asking for negotiations. Did not respond immediately. He was looking at a small photograph in his hand. It showed a young woman with black hair and kind eyes. She was smiling in the picture, the way she had smiled at the end. Sir, the officer repeated, should we respond? Put the photograph in his pocket. Open a channel, let them speak. The main screen flickered. His face appeared. The High Chancellor looked different from the recordings of the execution. Its feathers were not so bright now. Its eyes were not so confident. Human Commander, said. Its voice was careful, controlled. I am High Chancellor of the Galactic Council. I request a meeting to discuss the current situation. Looked at the alien. He remembered watching this same creature order's death. He remembered the mocking tone in its voice. He remembered how it had called humanity a disease. There is nothing to discuss, said. His eyes widened. Surely you cannot mean war. Think of the destruction. Think of the lives that will be lost. We can find a peaceful solution. You had a peaceful solution, replied. Her name was Han. She came to you with open hands and you killed her. "That was a mistake," said quickly. "A terrible mistake. The Council acted in haste. We did not understand." "You understood perfectly." His voice was cold. "You understood that we came in peace. You understood that we wanted to be friends. And you decided that peace was weakness. You decided that friendship was something to be mocked." He leaned forward. "Now you will learn what humanity does to those who hurt us. Now you will learn why we spent 200 years preparing for this moment. You thought we were building colonies. You thought we were farming and raising children and living simple lives." A smile crossed his face. It was not a warm smile. "We were, but we were also building this fleet. We were training these soldiers. We were developing these weapons, not because we wanted to use them, but because we knew that someday someone might force us to." His voice became desperate. "Please, we can make this right. We can pay compensation. We can give you territory. Whatever you want, just tell us." "What I want," said, "is for my friend to be alive. Can you give me that?" Silence. "I thought not," turned to his officers. "End the communication." The screen went dark. His face disappeared. On the council station, panic was spreading. Ships were launching in all directions trying to escape, but there was nowhere to go. The humans had them surrounded. Every escape route was blocked by dark ships with glowing weapons. Stood in the command center watching the chaos. Around it, officers shouted and scrambled. They had never faced anything like this. Their training was useless. "Admiral," one of them said, "what do we do?" Was silent for a long moment, then it spoke. "We pray," it said. "If we have gods, we pray to them, because the humans have come to deliver a message, and I do not think we will enjoy hearing it." Outside the station, the human fleet moved into position. Thousands of ships formed a perfect circle around the massive structure. Their weapons powered up, filling space with light. General watched from his bridge. His hand was on the firing control. One touch and the attack would begin. One touch and the council would learn the true cost of their arrogance. But he waited. He was not a monster. He did not enjoy killing. Even now, with rage burning in his heart, he wanted to give them one more chance. "Send one more message," he told his communications officer. "Send it to every ship, every station, every planet in council space. Make sure everyone hears it." The officer nodded. "Yes, sir, what should it say?" Thought for a moment, then he spoke. "Tell them this, Ambassador Han came to you in peace. She offered friendship, she offered hope, and you killed her. Now her fleet stands at your gates. You have 1 hour to evacuate the council station. After that, we will begin. This is not negotiation. This is not threat. This is simply fact. You have 1 hour." The message was sent. It spread across the galaxy at the speed of light. And for the first time in its history, the Galactic Council knew fear. The hour passed slowly. On the council station, chaos ruled. Millions of aliens pushed toward the docking bays, desperate to escape before the human deadline ended. Ships launched without permission, crashing into each other in their panic. Guards tried to maintain order, but there were too many people and too little time. High Chancellor stood in its chambers, refusing to leave. It watched the screens showing the evacuation and the human fleet waiting outside. Its feathers had lost their color. Its eyes were empty. "High Chancellor," said an advisor, "we must go, the ships are leaving." "Go where?" asked. "The humans are everywhere. They have surrounded every major system. There is no safe place left." "But staying here is death." "Perhaps," turned to look at the advisor, "but I will not run. I am the High Chancellor of the Galactic Council. If this is the end, I will face it." The advisor did not argue. It simply bowed and left. Moments later was alone. Outside, the human fleet waited in perfect silence. Thousands of ships hung in space like predators watching their prey. Their weapons were charged and ready. Their crews stood at their stations, waiting for the order that would change the galaxy forever. On the bridge of the ship, General watched the clock. 40 minutes had passed. 20 remained. "Sir," said his intelligence officer, a young woman named Myra, "our drones have completed their scan of the station. We have full information on their defensive capabilities." "Show me," said. A display appeared in front of him. It showed the Council station in detail, with all its weapons and shields marked in red. The defenses were strong by galactic standards, but they were nothing compared to what humanity had brought. "Their shields can withstand approximately 300 standard strikes," Myra reported. "We can deliver over 10,000 in our opening attack. Their weapons have a range of 200,000 kilometers. Ours have a range of 2 million. They cannot hurt us. We can destroy them at will." Nodded slowly. He had expected this. The Council had grown soft over thousands of years of peace. They had forgotten what real war looked like. They had forgotten that the universe was not kind to those who could not defend themselves. Humanity had never forgotten. "What about the evacuation?" he asked. "Approximately 60% of the station population has escaped so far. Another 20% are in transit. The remaining 20% are either unable to leave or refusing to." "Why would they refuse?" Myra pulled up another display. It showed a list of names and positions. Council leaders mostly, some military commanders. They seemed to have decided to stay and fight. Felt a flicker of something that might have been respect. At least some of them had courage. Not that it would help them. "Continue monitoring," he ordered. "Let me know when the hour ends." As he waited, he thought about how they had reached this moment. For 200 years, humanity had lived under a lie. The galaxy believed that humans were a young species, barely capable of space travel. They believed that human ships were primitive and their weapons were weak. They believed that humanity posed no threat to anyone. This belief was not an accident, it was a plan. From the very first day that humans left Earth, their leaders had known that the galaxy might be dangerous. They had seen what happened throughout human history when strong nations met weak ones. The weak were conquered, enslaved, destroyed. If there were aliens out there, and if they were powerful, humanity needed to be ready. So they pretended to be weak. The colonies that the galaxy could see were real, but they were only part of the truth. Behind them, hidden in the dark spaces between stars, were the true human territories. Hundreds of worlds that never appeared on any map. Shipyards that built vessels in secret. Laboratories that developed weapons the galaxy had never imagined. The Annihilation Protocol was the final piece of this plan. It was a set of instructions, created by the first human leaders, to be activated only if humanity faced total destruction. The protocol authorized the use of every hidden resource, every secret weapon, every soldier who had trained their whole life for a war they hoped would never come. Had known about the protocol. Before she left for the Council, she had been briefed on its existence. She had hoped she would never have to activate it. She had believed that peace was possible. She had been wrong, but her death had not been meaningless. The message she sent in her final moments was a code, a signal that told Earth what had happened and what needed to be done. The moment that signal was received, the protocol began. Within hours, the hidden fleets launched. Ships that had waited in darkness for generations finally saw light. Soldiers who had trained in secret finally had a purpose. The sleeping giant of humanity awakened, and the galaxy trembled. Now that giant stood at the gates of the Council, ready to deliver its judgment. The clock showed 5 minutes remaining. Opened a channel to his fleet. His voice reached every ship, every soldier, every human who had come to this moment. "This is General," he said. "In 5 minutes, we will begin the operation. I want every one of you to remember why we are here." He paused. 3 months ago, a woman named Han went to the Council. She went with gifts and kind words. She went believing that if we just showed them who we really were, they would accept us. They would be our friends. His voice grew harder. They killed her for it. They killed her and laughed. They called us a disease that needed to be cured. They thought we would be afraid. They thought we would hide and cry and accept their judgment. They were wrong. Around the fleet, soldiers listened. Some of them had known personally. Others had only seen her face in videos. But all of them felt the same fire burning in their hearts. "We are not here for revenge," continued. "Revenge is small. Revenge is personal. We are here for something bigger. We are here to teach the galaxy a lesson it will never forget. The lesson is this: humanity does not start wars. We do not attack the innocent. We do not conquer or enslave. We come in peace whenever we can. But when someone hurts us, when someone murders our people and laughs about it, we respond. And our response is absolute." The clock showed 1 minute remaining. "In 60 seconds, the hour will end. If the council station is still occupied by hostiles, we will attack. We will show no mercy because they showed us none. We will accept no surrender because they gave us no chance to surrender. This is not cruelty. This is consequence. This is what happens when you mistake kindness for weakness." 30 seconds. Remember Han. Remember her smile. Remember what she believed in. And then remember what they did to her. Hold that memory in your heart as you fight. Let it guide your aim and strengthen your resolve. 10 seconds. For Earth, for humanity, for... The clock reached 0. All ships said, "Fire." Space exploded with light. 10,000 weapons fired at once. Beams of energy crossed the void, striking the council station's shields. The shields, designed to withstand anything the galaxy could throw at them, lasted exactly 4 seconds. Then they failed. The station shook. Walls cracked. Windows shattered. Aliens screamed as the air rushed out into space. Explosions tore through corridors that had stood for. But the humans did not destroy the station completely. That was not the plan. "Cease fire," ordered. "Deploy boarding parties." Across the fleet, doors opened. Thousands of small ships launched, carrying human soldiers in black armor. They flew toward the damaged station like swarms of insects. Each one carried a team trained for exactly this kind of operation. Their orders were simple: capture the council leaders, secure the communication systems, and broadcast everything to the galaxy. On the station, Fleet Admiral watched the boarding ships approach. It stood in the ruins of the command center, surrounded by dead officers and broken equipment. Its mechanical body was damaged but still functional. "They are coming," it said to no one. It picked up a weapon from the floor. It was a simple gun, not very powerful, but had not survived 100 wars by giving up. The first human soldiers burst through the door. They moved with perfect coordination, covering each other and checking corners. Their armor was black and smooth, covering them from head to toe. Their weapons hummed with barely contained energy. Fired, the shot hit one of the soldiers in the chest. The soldier staggered but did not fall. The armor had absorbed the impact. More shots came from the humans, felt pain as rounds struck its body. But it kept fighting, kept moving, kept refusing to die. Finally, one of the humans stepped forward. This one was different. It moved with authority. When it spoke, the others listened. "Stop," the soldier said. "You are Fleet Admiral. We have orders to take you alive." Laughed. It was a harsh, mechanical sound. "Why? So you can execute me like you executed our prisoners. So you can show the galaxy your strength." "No," the soldier replied. "So you can stand trial. So the galaxy can see what you did and judge you for it. That is the human way. We do not murder prisoners. We do not kill for pleasure. We are not you." Was silent for a moment. Then it lowered its weapon. "I have studied your species for a long time," it said. "I never understood you. You are violent, but you love peace. You are dangerous, but you seek friendship. You are everything at once, all mixed together." "Yes," the soldier agreed. "That is what we are, and that is why you should never have hurt us." On other parts of the station, similar scenes played out. Human soldiers secured control rooms and detention centers. They freed prisoners who had been held by the council for crimes as small as speaking against their leaders. They captured officials who had voted for execution. And they found High Chancellor. The feathered alien was sitting in its chambers when the soldiers arrived. It did not resist. It did not even look up. "I expected you sooner," said. The soldier in charge removed their helmet. It was General himself. He had come to this moment personally. He needed to see it with his own eyes. "High Chancellor," said, "by the authority of the United Earth Government, you are under arrest for the murder of Ambassador Han and crimes against humanity." Finally looked at him. Its eyes were tired. "Will you kill me?" it asked. "No," said. "As I told your admiral, we are not murderers. You will face trial. The galaxy will see your crimes, and then they will decide your fate." "The galaxy," repeated. "Do you think they will care? They celebrated when your ambassador died. They cheered for it." "Some of them did," agreed, "but not all. And those who cheered did so because they were afraid of you, because they thought you were unstoppable. Now they know the truth." He leaned closer. "You were never unstoppable. You were just bullies who had never met someone willing to stand up to you. Well, you have met us now, and everything is going to change." Guards came and took away, watched them go, feeling nothing. He had thought this moment would bring him satisfaction. He had thought capturing the alien who killed would fill the empty space in his heart. It did not. He walked to the window and looked out at the stars. The human fleet filled the view, thousands of ships surrounding the broken station. They had won. The council was defeated. The galaxy would never forget what had happened here, but was still dead, and nothing would ever bring her back. "Sir," said Myra, appearing beside him, "the communication systems are secured. We are ready to broadcast whenever you give the order." Nodded slowly. "Do it. Show everyone what happened here. Show them the trial of, show them that humanity does not forgive those who hurt us, but also show them that we do not become monsters in our anger. Show them who we really are." The broadcast began. Across the galaxy, billions of aliens watched. They saw the damaged station. They saw the captured leaders. They saw the human soldiers not celebrating or taunting but working with quiet efficiency. And they heard General speak. "This is a message to all species of the galaxy," he said. 3 months ago you killed our ambassador. You thought this would make us afraid. You were wrong. We are not afraid. We have never been afraid. We simply hoped we would never have to show you what we are truly capable of. Now you know. Now you have seen our ships and our weapons and our soldiers. You have seen what happens when you push humanity too far. Remember this day. Remember what we did here. And remember this promise. If you leave us in peace, we will leave you in peace. We do not want war. We have never wanted war, but if you force us to fight, we will win. Always. The choice is yours." The broadcast ended. The galaxy was silent. And in that silence, a new era began. 1 year had passed since the fall of the Galactic Council. The galaxy was different now. The old order had crumbled. Species that had once lived in fear of the Council now governed themselves. Trade routes that had been controlled by corrupt officials were open to everyone. Prisoners who had been locked away for centuries walked free in the light of alien suns. And at the center of it all stood humanity. General stood on a balcony overlooking the rebuilt council station. It had taken months to repair the damage, but now it shone brighter than ever. The old symbols of the council had been removed. In their place were new ones, representing not a single ruling power, but a community of equals. The Galactic Assembly, they called it now. Every species had a voice. Every world had a vote. No one would ever again have the power to kill an ambassador without consequences. "You look tired," said a voice behind him. Turned, a woman stood in the doorway. She was old now, her hair completely white, but her eyes were still sharp. Her name was. She had been one of the leaders who planned the Annihilation protocol decades ago. She had also been teacher. I am tired, admitted. Building something is harder than destroying it. Walked to stand beside him. She looked out at the station, at the ships coming and going, at the new galaxy they had created. Would have been proud, she said. Would she? Asked. We killed thousands of aliens in the attack. We destroyed their government. We showed them exactly the violence she always hoped we could avoid. Yes, agreed. But we also showed them something else. We showed them that violence is not our first choice. It is our last choice. When they killed, they made that choice for us. What matters is what we did after. She gestured at the station. Look at what we built. A system where every species has rights. A government based on cooperation instead of fear. Courts that judge fairly, where even the most powerful must answer for their crimes. This is legacy, not the war. This was quiet for a long moment. Then he reached into his pocket and pulled out the photograph he always carried. Smiled up at him, frozen forever in that moment of hope. I still miss her, he said. You always will, replied. That is what love is. It does not go away just because the person is gone. They stood in silence for a while. Then an officer appeared in the doorway. General Assembly Representative, the trial is about to begin. They are waiting for you. Nodded, he put the photograph away and straightened his uniform. Let's go. The trial chamber was packed. Thousands of aliens filled the seats, representing every species in the galaxy. Cameras broadcast the proceedings to billions more. This was the most watched event in galactic history, and everyone wanted to see how it would end. At the center of the chamber, in a seat designed for prisoners, sat High Chancellor. The alien looked different now. Its feathers had faded to gray. Its body had grown thin. A year in prison had broken something inside it, something that had once made it proud and arrogant. Took his seat at the front of the chamber. He was not a judge or a lawyer. He was simply a witness, one of many who would testify about what the council had done. The Chief Justice, a creature made of crystalline light, called the chamber to order. We are gathered to deliver the verdict in the case of the Galactic Community versus High Chancellor, former leader of the dissolved Galactic Council. The defendant has been charged with murder, conspiracy, crimes against sapient beings, and abuse of power. The chamber was silent. After reviewing all evidence and testimony, this court finds the defendant guilty on all charges. Murmurs spread through the crowd, did not react. It had known this was coming. The defendant is sentenced to permanent exile on a monitored planet. All assets are forfeit. All titles are revoked. The defendant will live out the remainder of its natural life in isolation, with time to consider the consequences of its actions. Finally spoke. Its voice was weak, barely audible. May I say something? The Chief Justice paused. You may. Stood slowly. It looked around the chamber at all the faces watching it. Then it spoke. I was wrong. The words seemed to surprise everyone, including. When the human ambassador came to us, I saw only a threat. I saw a young species that was growing too fast, that might one day challenge our power. I did not see what she really was. I did not see the kindness in her eyes or the truth in her words. His voice grew stronger. I killed her because I was afraid. I killed her because it was easier than admitting that maybe, just maybe, we were the problem. We had grown comfortable in our power. We had forgotten what it meant to treat others with respect. She reminded us, and we hated her for it. The alien looked directly at. I am sorry. I know that changes nothing. I know your friend is still dead, but I am sorry. And I hope that someday, somehow, you can forgive me. Not for my sake, for yours. Met's eyes. He searched for something there, some sign that the alien was lying, manipulating, playing another game. But he saw nothing except genuine regret. He did not know if he could forgive. He did not know if forgiveness was even possible for something like this. But he knew what would have said. She would have said that everyone deserves a chance to change. That hatred only creates more hatred, that the cycle of violence can only end when someone chooses to break it. I hear your words, said finally, and I accept them. I cannot forgive you yet. Maybe I never will, but I will not let what you did turn me into something would not recognize. I will remember her with love, not with hate, and that will have to be enough. Nodded slowly. Guards came and led it away. The trial was over. After the chamber emptied, remained in his seat. The events of the past year played through his mind. The war, the victory, the long months of building something new from the ashes of the old. And tomorrow there would be more work, more meetings, more decisions. The galaxy was changing and humanity was at the center of that change. It was a responsibility that had never wanted but one he could not refuse. A hand touched his shoulder. It was again. Come, she said, there is something I want to show you. They walked through the station together, past crowds of aliens who bowed their heads in respect. Some of them still feared humans. Others were beginning to trust them. It would take time, but eventually the fear would fade. Eventually, they would all just be people, trying to live their lives in a complicated universe. Led to a quiet corridor. At the end of it was a door. She opened it and stepped aside. Beyond the door was a garden. Had not expected this. In the middle of a space station, surrounded by metal and machinery, someone had built a garden. Trees grew from real soil. Flowers bloomed in every color. A small stream ran through the center, its water clear and cold. And in the middle of the garden was a statue. It showed a woman with black hair and kind eyes. She was smiling, the same smile she had worn at the end. Her hands were open, reaching out to someone who was not there. The statue felt tears in his eyes. He had not cried since the day of the attack. He had told himself that crying was weakness, that a general could not afford to show emotion. But now, standing before this statue, he could not hold back anymore. The aliens built this, said softly. Species from across the galaxy contributed. They wanted to honor her. They wanted to remember what she stood for. Walked forward until he stood directly before the statue. He looked up its face, at the smile that had haunted his dreams for a year. She would have loved this, he whispered. Yes, agreed, she would have. They stood in silence for a long time. Around them, the garden bloomed with life. It was a small piece of nature in the vastness of space, a reminder that beauty could exist anywhere, even in the darkness. Finally spoke. I think I understand now, he said, why she went, why she believed peace was possible even when everyone told her it was not. Why asked? Because someone has to go first, someone has to take the risk, someone has to reach out their hand, even knowing it might be cut off. He touched the base of the statue. She knew she might die, she knew the council might reject her, but she went anyway because she believed that humanity was worth the risk. She believed that we were good enough to deserve a place in the galaxy. He turned to look at, are we? Smiled. It was a sad smile, but also a hopeful one. I think we are becoming what she believed we could be, she said. We are not there yet. We still have anger in our hearts and violence in our history, but we are trying. Every day we are trying, and that is all she ever asked. Nodded. He looked at the statue one more time, fixing every detail in his memory. Then he turned and walked toward the door. Where are you going? Asked. Back to work, said. There is still a galaxy to build, and I think would want me to be part of building it. He paused at the door and looked back. Thank you for showing me this. I needed it. Watched him go. When he was gone, she turned back to the statue. She had known since the girl was a child. She had watched her grow into a woman who believed in the impossible. She had been proud of her and heartbroken when she died. But now, looking at what sacrifice had created, she felt something new. Hope. The galaxy had killed one human who came in peace, and humanity had responded, not with endless war but with justice. They had shown their strength and then used it to build something better. They had proven that they were everything believed them to be. Somewhere out there among the stars, Spirit was watching, was sure of it. And she was smiling. In the years that followed, the Galactic Assembly grew stronger. Species that had been enemies learned to work together. Wars that had burned for centuries finally ended. The galaxy was not perfect, but it was better than it had been before. And at the center of it all, humans continued to do what they had always done. They explored, they built, they dreamed. They reached out to new species with open hands, offering friendship first and fighting only when they had no other choice. They remembered. Every year on the anniversary of her death, humans and aliens gathered in the garden to honor her memory. They told stories about her. They taught their children what she had done and why it mattered. The statue became a symbol known throughout the galaxy. The woman with open hands, they called it. A reminder that even in the darkness of space, there was always light. There was always hope. There was always the possibility that tomorrow could be better than today. The galaxy had learned what happened when you hurt humanity. They had learned to fear human strength and respect human power. But more importantly, they had learned something else. They had learned that humans, for all their violence and all their rage, would always choose peace if peace was offered. They had learned that the species they once called a disease was actually something far more precious. A friend. The universe was vast and cold and full of dangers, but it was also full of wonder, and the greatest wonder of all was this. A small species from a small planet had taught the galaxy how to be better. Han had died believing in that dream, and because of her sacrifice, the dream had come true. The stars continued to shine as they always had. But now, when beings across the galaxy looked up at them, they did not see only darkness. They saw possibility. And somewhere in a garden at the heart of a space station, a statue smiled.